Remember that gorgeous guy from the A-Team in Battlestar Galactica? Well, today on McDougall MD, Dirk Benedict will tell us how he cured his prostate cancer by eating right. Plus, we'll talk with a leading expert on breast cancer, and we're going to make some low-fat, yummy McDougall burritos. I'm Mary McDonough, and this is McDougall MD. Hey, John.
Good to see you bounce out here.
Oh, thank you. Oh, thank you. Good to see you. Welcome.
Nice to be asked.
We have a special guest here today, right,
a
John?
very special guest, Dr. C. Barbara Mueller. He was head of McMaster's surgery department for many, many years, and he was a tremendous influence on me in my early career. Mary, there was, in the state of Hawaii, which I used to live in, there was a law for informed consent that was proposed, and that law requires that women be told that they have various options when it comes to breast cancer. And you've heard of those options: lumpectomy, mastectomy, radical mastectomy. Well, it was his basic work that laid the foundation for me giving testimony that supported that law, so that you have to be told your various options.
Well, thank you. And your work has also given us a lot of hope and different options. Can you tell us a little bit about it? About the history and
about the options?
That and a little of the history, if you will.
A little of the history. Well,
Yeah.
the history starts, of course, at the end of World War II, in which the classic and only procedure for breast cancer was what is called radical mastectomy, which is a big mutilating operation. Takes a long time, 3 or 4 hours sometimes, and that was the operation. Not long after
That was the only choice then.
And
Really the only
doctors
choice.
thought it cured, right?
Well, that was what the hope was.
Yes.
And not long after that, people began to wonder if that much was needed. And so a classic study by the National Breast Cancer Project under Dr. Fisher compared 2 groups of women, one who had radical mastectomy and one who had the lesser procedure known as mastectomy, simple mastectomy.
Simple, okay.
And when they followed it up 10 years later, the survival curves for the 2 procedures were identical.
Well, you'd think
Really?
everybody had switched to simple mastectomy.
Well, it doesn't take.
Doesn't
it
happen
takes
overnight,
time.
does it?
It doesn't happen overnight, particularly when you believe in something firmly.
Yes.
And we all believed in radical mastectomy.
Well, how do we get to a lumpectomy then?
Well, and a few years later, the question arose as whether or not taking the total breast off was required. And would it be possible just to take out the cancerous part of the breast? Some studies were going on in Italy, and certainly the studies that came out of Pittsburgh under Dr. Fisher were set up, and so a large controlled study compared total mastectomy or simple mastectomy with lumpectomy. And guess what? The survival curves were identical.
The same still.
So if you had a choice, I mean, if you have breast cancer
Well,
and you
of
can
course.
get by with keeping your breast as opposed to losing
losing
it, you would
everything.
think that would be a logical choice.
Well, considering that those are the results and the outcomes, sure.
Well, it
It would be less mutilating.
was never compared to lumpectomy with radical mastectomy, but the inference
Oh,
was
but
made, but jump-wise, that they were all the same. And so I think that most of us now believe that taking out only the cancer and the portion of the breast that contains it is sufficient when you measure by survival.
And most ladies' magazines, television reports, and so on come to that same conclusion, that you have an option. And the
Yes.
reason you need to know that you have that option is because whatever you choose, you're going to live the same length of time. And that's basically what Dr. Mueller's work showed, is you're going to live the same length of time. And now we have 18 states that have informed consent laws that help women understand that they have these
No, of
various
course,
options.
I would say only 18.
Well,
Only 18.
Well, remember that
Process is slow. I know
think that
progress goes.
every surgeon doesn't believe that less is as good as more,
nor every woman.
nor every woman.
That's true. There are women who are very afraid, who just would. I think they sort of say, "Well, just get rid of everything, just take it all." And thinking that that will increase their chances, but that doesn't seem to be necessarily so.
No, but the problem with lumpectomy is that there are local recurrences.
Yes.
It's not as easy to find the margins and to make sure you've gotten around all the cancer in the breast.
Yes, but if you keep having checkups, if you find something else, then you may end up having a mastectomy. But
You may end up having your mastectomy
But you
later,
might not.
and you might not.
But is the
That's
length of survival the same even if you have a local recurrence?
Yes, that's the strange part.
So it's not a serious mistake to take just the lump and not have a.
Statistically, it doesn't seem to make any difference, and yet in mentally thinking about it, you'd say, well, that tumor must have been there all of that time before the local recurrence is visible. Mm-hmm. Is that much more of a risk for getting a metastasis? See, women don't die of their cancer in the breast. They die of cancer elsewhere. It goes from the breast to the elsewhere. So was there a time for it to spread while it was there and not shown? Mm-hmm. But it doesn't seem to make any difference in survival.
How long have you been recommending simple operations for breast cancer?
About 35 years.
35 years. And the statistics are, even to date, that 65% of women still have mastectomies.
Yes, that's because surgeons believe that if you're going to cut on it, take it big. Make sure you got the margins.
Surgeons do surgery, don't they?
Surgeons do surgery.
That's true.
But what we have to do is we have to get women informed so that they can get involved in these decisions with their doctor. And sometimes mastectomy might be the right thing for a woman.
Well, it's not just as simple as we've said so far, because the choices are determined not alone by what the operation is, but the size of the tumor and the size of the breast and the age of the woman and the position of the tumor in the breast are all considerations to be taken, or all things to be taken into account.
It seems like there's a lot to consider.
And we need to have our patients talk to their doctors about it. When we come back, I'll be talking with actor Dirk Benedict.
I have documents because I did a television series and 2 or 3 movies when I was a big meat eater, and then went away and then had a myriad of physical problems, not the least of which was prostate cancer, and went away and came back and looked younger than when I left.
For a brighter future, just say hello.
And welcome back. Mary, there are all kinds of controversies in medicine, especially in the area of cancer. Mm-hmm. And one of the greater controversies is the issue of diet in cancer. I mean, treating cancer with a healthy diet, it's labeled quackery, or at least it has been until recently, but there are many people who believe that a healthy diet is the foundation to recovering from cancer. Does this seem strange to you?
No, that doesn't seem strange to me.
Well, after all, you know.
But I've been hanging around you.
Yeah, well, if you figure that they say diet causes cancer, then it makes sense to stop it. Sure.
And you can move it around.
I had recently had a chance to meet with an actor, Dirk Benedict,
Yes.
who believes he cured his prostate cancer with a healthy diet. Let's join him.
Okay.
Dirk, I have you here because you have one of the more interesting diets in Hollywood. Tell us what it is.
That's true. Actually, I'm probably, well, no longer can I say I'm the only brown rice actor in Hollywood, but I'm probably one of the first, and I'm probably the most true to the principles behind what is called a macrobiotic diet. Basically, what it means is I eat it's a way of eating that has whole grain as its staple. Tofu, tempeh, seitan, udon and soba noodles, miso every morning. Some people out there may not know, though, they may think I'm speaking a foreign language, and I've been doing it now for 25 years, and I've raised 2 boys.
You must have started when you were 10.
I did. I was allowed. I was precocious. No, I come from a long line of carnivores.
Tell us how old you are.
No, I'm 54 years old.
54, and you look
54.
Fantastic.
Do you know, it's interesting. I have documents because I did a television series and 2 or 3 movies when I was a big meat eater, and then went away and then had a myriad of physical problems, not the least of which was prostate cancer, and went away and came back and looked younger than when I left. I mean, I looked about 7 years younger when I came back, so it was very bizarre for the casting people. It was like a younger brother of the person they knew.
Was it the prostate cancer that got you to rethink things?
You know, it took a lot of, it was just slow for me to get the message. I had arthritis from the time I was 16 years old. It was they called it childhood arthritis, traumatic arthritis. I was taking medicine for it all through college. My knuckles are still disfigured from it. I used to have to soak my hands in hot water. This was when I was in college, playing college football. And I also had skin problems. I also was losing my hair. I had bouts of impotence, that's connected to the prostate. But none of this.
How old were you when they diagnosed you?
I was 30.
Cancer. Dirk, do you have any thoughts back then why a 30-year-old man would come down with prostate cancer?
I had started to make changes in my diet before I was diagnosed with cancer.
Because of the arthritis?
Because of the arthritis.
I see.
I was floundering around with giving up red meat. I had stopped eating red meat and dairy, and my arthritis got better.
Anybody have any great influence on you as far as getting you to make your dietary changes? You know, this is something it's hard for people to learn on their own.
You know, I was doing a Broadway show with Gloria Swanson, who was the original health nut. Yeah. And she's the one that introduced me to brown rice, the whole idea, because I didn't know what to substitute for meat and chicken and cheese. And I was floundering around with bread and stuff and yogurt. And she said whole grains. And so I'm carrying the torch handed to me by the great Gloria Swanson, whose movie career started in 1917.
The focus on macrobiotics, did she get you involved in that?
Yes, she did. Although I wasn't part of that sort of community in Boston at the time. I went off by myself into the mountains with some literature and with lots of grain and beans. I went into a cabin in New Hampshire and removed myself from the temptations of America's advertising campaign, which is much greater now than it was in 75, 76, 77. And it was like withdrawing from drugs. I used to dream about meat. It would have dreams, and hamburgers would talk to me.
Do you still crave it?
No.
Now, if you
people always say, how can you live without ice cream? How can you live without cheese? How can you live? They do not understand that I have no desire for it, that your taste buds change because it's a biochemical thing. The chemistry of your blood changes and your cravings change. Cravings are a very real thing inside of you.
Tell me, where would you be today if you'd listened to the doctors back in 1970 on how to treat your prostate cancer?
Possibly dead, certainly childless, and thirdly, angry and bitter. Now, I have written my book, Confessions of a Kamikaze Cowboy. Many men have read this. I have a stack of 200-300 letters of men who've read it, whose prostates went back to normal. The degeneration of our body much of it can be undone by changing what we feed it.
And people don't realize that, do they?
The power of the body to rejuvenate always amazes me. It's astounding. And it's very simple to do, but the big challenge to it is saying no to all the temptations that we see on television every day of our life, saying, drink this, eat this. America today is consuming animal protein at a rate that has never before been done in the history of the recorded history of the planet.
And look at the results.
And look at the results. You see, in 1900, America didn't eat the amount of meat. In the 20s, in the 30s, in the 40s. It's only been since the Second World War and the proliferation of the mass production, the blossoming of the fast food industry, that we're consuming it in the quantities and in the low quality that we are. It's never been done. So this is a huge experiment, and we're seeing all these physical problems showing up, and we're trying to figure out where it's coming from.
Well, all we have to do is have people in their 30s, 40s, and 50s take a look at you and see what happens when you're, quote, protein deficient. Well, they should be so lucky.
I think the older they get, the more you can just show up and keep your mouth shut. And then people come say, gee, you look good for 54.
How about these two boys of yours? How are you raising them?
It's the most exciting adventure I've ever had. It's much more difficult raising children sugar-free and meat-free in today's society than what I went through curing myself of prostate cancer. It's 10 times more difficult, 1,000 times more rewarding. It is the future of the planet. It can be done, and they get it really quick. And at 10 years old and 8 years old, they look at all their classmates who are overweight, who have runny noses, have ear infections. They know they don't have these things. They go to the dentist. They don't have the cavities. They get it. So I don't have to proselytize.
What a legacy to leave your kids.
And it is, and it's the only thing I can. I think it is the greatest legacy that a parent can leave their child.
And Dirk Benedict, you are a real inspiration and an example. Thank you very much for being with us. And we'll be right back after this.
Learning English may be the biggest factor in the jobs you can get and the money you can earn. Hi, I'm Michelle, and I want to tell you about Hello Channel, an exciting new channel that teaches you English as you're watching TV. As you watch Hello Channel, you'll see, read, hear, and speak English, and before you know it, you'll be on your way to a better job and a brighter future. All you have to do is say hello.
And welcome back. Following a macrobiotic diet like Dirk Benedict can be somewhat threatening, but there are easy ways to eat healthy vegetarian meals. And the simpler and easier, the better as far as I'm concerned. Add delicious to that, as my wife Mary McDougall can do.
Yes,
then
she
you
can.
Then you have the kind of meals that everybody looks forward to. In fact, the meal that you're going to prepare for us today, Mary, is, I would say, the favorite in our house, wouldn't you?
Oh,
Is
definitely.
it really?
Oh,
What
yes.
are we having today, Mary?
We're having bean burritos.
bean burritos. Oh,
And if you ask any one of my family members what they would want for dinner, they would say bean burritos.
And this isn't, John, what you would consider one of those rich meals. This
Oh, no,
would be
bean
an every night
burritos
kind of a
is
thing.
as healthy as you could possibly make. If I was stuck with one dish that I had to eat 3 times a day, 7 days a week,
It
it'd
would
probably be
these
bean burritos.
Mary's bean burritos.
Yeah, and they're better than any Mexican restaurant I've ever been to. She just does a great job.
Well, of course, because they're Mary's.
And
How
they're
is
really
that?
easy to make, too. I
Yes.
mean, these days you can even go to the supermarket and buy fat-free refried beans in a can.
In a can already
so you
done,
don't have
right.
to do it yourself. But otherwise, you start with dried pinto beans.
Dried pinto
You
beans.
put them in a pot on the
Okay,
stove.
we'll put them in here right
Yeah.
now.
See, that's my style. That's my level of cooking. I can
Because
do that.
this is what
Yeah, I
John
can do that.
usually does. And now he has
Pour
his
the beans
Marys in the
in.
kitchen.
Boiled beans.
So.
And
Okay,
then
so you
would
put
just
them in
turn
here.
them on and let them cook.
For how long?
Oh, 3 or 4 hours. The longer they cook, the better they are.
The better they are.
Now, see, when
Okay.
I at home,
And the less gassy they are.
yeah, the less gas
Is that the
they are.
secret?
Well, that's one of the secrets to get the gas out of the beans
Yeah.
is you have to thoroughly cook it because, Mary, there are 2 sugars in beans that our intestinal tract can't digest, and when they go through the small intestine and get to the large intestine, there are lots of gas-producing bacteria down there that gobble up
we
those
know
sugars
the
and make gas.
culprits. Well, we just
So
cook them
that's
out.
one of the techniques, the secrets, and maybe I'll give you a chance to give you a few more degassing techniques.
Well, let's. So
All right,
3
let's-
hours, Mary,
3
right?
or 4 hours, yeah.
3 or
now
4
let's show
hours.
them what they look like when they come out of the...
Oh, okay, and here we go. Magic of television.
And here's
Here we
the
are.
Okay, now-
beans. You take a bean masher and mash them up, get them as soft as you want them, and then the easy part.
This is a great meal to introduce a family that isn't eating healthy yet because you can make the beans like you have here, have the condiments like Mary's going to show you, and then you can add things that people think they're missing. Other family members think they're missing. You can add them in little bowls
Right.
at the meal. So you can put a bowl of cheese out, or you can
and
put a
everybody
bowl
can
of
put their
seasoned
own in,
hamburger
and
mix.
someone
Right.
who doesn't
Make your
want
own,
that.
like buffet style even.
Then you're not
It's
making
great.
2 meals.
I do that.
And you're getting people interested in healthier foods.
I do that, and I put out both things for people to eat, but I use black beans.
Oh, black beans are
mine.
delicious.
Very healthy
we
for you.
love the
All
black
right, so you
beans.
start with a flour tortilla,
Uh-huh.
And beans are good for weight loss too.
Are they really?
They really are.
and they
because
fill you up.
That's
Oh,
the,
yes,
that's the
they're
thing
very
is they
full.
actually
So you eat less.
slow the emptying of the stomach and keep the stomach full longer. That beans have that property.
Okay. And then you can take maybe some rice.
Rice, and that looks great. Now, we can find all of these recipes in your cookbooks, right?
That's
And We can
right.
get the cookbooks at any store. Any
That's right.
bookstore
Yep, any
that we can go
bookstore.
in? Okay.
Put on a few tomatoes.
Okay. So there we got our color, John. We always like to have our colorful food.
That's right. And then how about some green onions?
Green onions.
A little more color.
Uh-huh. And
This
for
is- this
those
is
who
a
are
very interesting dish.
spicy, I
Well,
see
you
something
know,
over there.
We put a little lettuce on.
A little lettuce.
And in our
in.
family, you know, we've always eaten sprouts.
You always
on
put in
our
yours.
burritos.
Put in your burritos.
Always. I don't know why.
Well,
Started
adds-
years
it
ago.
adds kind of like a little nutty flavor to it, I think. It only
And
adds.
then you can add a little salsa.
Is that
Spice it up a
salsa?
little bit. That's the salsa.
Of course, yeah,
know,
yes.
it's-
I'm
it's
vanilla, so I
hot.
would have to have really mild.
Oh.
And then
Well, there's
Uh-huh.
where the choice comes in all the taste too, Mary. I mean, the
soy
salsa is what
cheese.
really makes a difference.
you have to try it, of course.
I do. I have to eat everything. You know this, Mary.
That's soy cheese now,
Okay.
Mary.
Yep.
I know, John. It's very yummy, the soy
is, isn't
cheese.
it?
I like the
And
soy
then
cheese.
if you can manage to roll it up.
And you have to have a very big appetite
Yes.
for this.
There's one.
There's
And
one.
now we
Oh,
can
good. Are you
make
gonna
another
make one. For
one.
all of us? And you
Well,
can vary
with
it
different
because.
things. Let's just try a few different things.
Okay.
Let me tell you some other degassing
Yes,
techniques.
that would be. That would.
Okay.
That's what I really want to know.
You know, cooking thoroughly makes a big difference. So
Uh-huh.
if you're having gas from your food, think about the fact that you're not cooking it well enough.
Uh-huh.
The other thing that you might try is a degassing liquid compound called Beano.
Oh,
You buy-
yes,
you buy
I
it-
know Beano.
buy it
And
in
you
the
have just a little
drugstore.
bit of it on your first taste.
What it does is it's enzymes that digest those 2 sugars I told you about that we can't digest. And then the surefire way to degas beans is to sprout them.
So you put them in water?
Right, you put them in water and you let them soak for about 12 hours and then you move them onto a paper towel, have them sprout for another 12 hours, and that sprouting process uses up those 2 sugars I told you about.
So if I had taken these and instead of cooking them first,
Right.
to soak them for 12 hours and then put them on a towel,
Yes.
and then that would and then cook them
It
after
utilizes those little gases that your stomach can't handle.
that. My little sensory tummy.
Or not the gases, the sugars that turn into
Those
gas.
sugars, yeah. Well, I think
But you have to plan ahead to do that because that's going to take you
a very long
24
time.
hours.
And then after that, Mary, what would you do to cook them after they're sprouted?
Then you
Does it
put
take
them
less time?
less time.
A lot less
Yeah.
time. So it's not 3 hours. It would
Right.
be
maybe 2 hours.
2 hours instead.
Yeah.
Once they're
Then
sprouted.
they don't taste any different, and
But
they don't have little green sprouts hanging off them either.
Or they
It's
don't.
just a
they
little
don't.
tiny.
Just
white.
a little tiny.
Yeah,
They're
it's
just
a-
more absorbing the water. But see, that's good to know. But it's not that hard though, because what you can always do is just soak them overnight. You can just put them out in water
Right,
overnight. So
right.
it doesn't. It's not like it's taking that
There
much
are some
time out of the
variations
day.
to this. You mentioned black beans. You can
Yes.
use garbanzo beans. You can use any kinds of beans. You can also use different kinds of tortilla shells. There's corn tortilla shells,
Right.
and they're very, very
The
healthy.
very soft corn tortilla shells. They're just made with corn, water, and lime.
Oh,
That's it.
And
that's
you
a
can
yummy
also,
variation.
one of the things that Mary does is she takes mushrooms and puts them in a wok. I mean, that's really good. And cooks
Then we
up
put
mushrooms.
mushrooms
Oh, you can,
on
you can,
burritos.
oh, you can put them over. Oh, that's
then makes
great.
a
But you know, you can
TVP
end up
mixture.
filling these things so full that you can hardly get your mouth around.
I know. But then you just have to have another one. I know. These look really great. These look really great. Well, I think we're going to be back to eat these in a little bit. And if you don't have the recipes in the book, which you should go out and get one anyway because there's lots of other yummy recipes there, you can also write for this recipe at McDougall MD, Box 320, Newberry Park, California, 91319. But get the book. Has all other stuff in it. We'll be right back.
Hello.
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 Hello. Do you know what my secret is? I'm a dancer. And I must say that ever since I was a little girl, I've stayed in the best of health and the best fitness, and you keep your figure by doing ballet, jazz, and I'm starting tap.
And welcome back. I'm sure you've learned more about gas than you ever wanted to know.
Than I ever wanted to know. No, it's actually good because I think if someone is more comfortable eating the food and they don't get gassy, they'll be more likely to eat it.
And you should also know you never have to eat beans. I mean, a lot of people think you've got to eat beans to get the protein. You get plenty of protein in rice, various kinds of
Tofu.
vegetables. Oh, the protein's every
Protein's
place. You
everywhere.
never have to worry about it.
You don't.
So if you don't want to bother with beans, you make your bean burritos and all your rest of your dishes without, we call them rice burritos, I guess.
Rice burritos. I like that. Well, good. We're going to try these. Are you going to come around? Let's feed you.
Okay.
Come on, John. This is
We
your
want to
favorite
see if he
meal.
can get
favorite
his
meal.
mouth around this burrito. right?
Exactly, Mary. This is what you can feed him. You do the honors.
All right, look at that.
Mary, we
can-
want to
I can
thank
do
you
it, I
for
can do it.
being here with us in the kitchen. We'd also like to thank our other guest, Dirk Benedict. And come back and see us again. We're going to watch John eat. I want to see it. Take another bite.
I have to hold this. The food, the stuffing is falling out.
Goodbye, everybody. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.